You're listening to Bowl Game Radio with Bruce Binkowski and Mark Neville on San Diego's sports leader, the mighty 1090.
Welcome back, everybody, to Bowl Game Radio. I'm Mark Neville, along with Bruce Binkowski. And just a reminder, the Bowl Game Radio is brought to you in part by National University, a private, non-profit university with 6 campuses in San Diego County. And San Diego County Credit Union. It's not big bank banking, it's better.
And we're here talking about our 2 bowl games, the San Diego County Credit Union Poinsettia Bowl, which is Tuesday, December the 23rd, a 6:30 p.m. kickoff. Then the 37th Annual National University Holiday Bowl, 4 days later at Qualcomm Stadium on Saturday, December the 27th. Pac-12, and for the first time since 1994, the Big Ten. Get your tickets right now for both games. Visit SanDiegoBowlGames.com. But hard-hitting gridiron action, spectacular pregame and halftime pageantry. Go to holidaybowl.com, and of course, if you want Holiday Bowl tickets, actually just go to SanDiegoBowlGames.com and you'll get both games.
And attention all Southern California students, if you need help with tuition, today is your last chance to register for the Dr. Pepper Throw for Dough tuition giveaway. And that'll happen on the field at this year's National University Holiday Bowl. Applications are due tonight at midnight, so for more information, visit drpeppertouchdown.com. That's drpeppertouchdown.com.
All right, so we talked about the San Diego County Credit Union Poinsettia Bowl, and it is a Mountain West team to be determined by this weekend against a bowl-eligible Naval Academy midshipman. And joining us for the second time on Bowl Game Radio, Omar Nelson from the broadcast team of the United States Navy Academy. Omar, welcome back to Bowl Game Radio.
Well, I'm glad to be back. Thank you for having me.
All right, Omar, this is Bruce Binkowski along with Mark Neville. Now, I got to talk to you. We got to figure this out and explain to our audience what happened for Navy to get bowl eligible. Go ahead.
We had to go down to South Alabama, of course,
right,
last weekend, and it was back and forth. They jumped on top of us, and then we got rolling in the second quarter. You know, we scored 14 unanswered, and then in the third quarter, we scored another 14. So we were up about 15 points late in the third, and it's kind of getting early in the fourth. And so we gave the team a kiss of death, jinxed them a little bit because we started mentioning the Poinsettia Bowl. Bruce, we actually mentioned your name.
Thank you.
Saying, you know, how happy you were going to be that we were going to get this win, and, you know, you'd be able to promote the game early. And then we look up, and the Jaguars scored 20 unanswered points. Well, it was coming down to a 2-point conversion within the last minute, and they converted it, but then they had a penalty. Legal man downfield, they actually lined up incorrectly. So then they back them up 5 yards, so we're feeling a little bit better. And then they score again. Quarterback makes a great run in attempt, and he gets in the end zone, but he get called for a holding, and then the third time, trying to get the 2-point conversion to tie the game up, we're able to get the stop. So we get our 6 wins. It all worked out well.
And Omar, this is Mark Neville. So Bruce he told a pretty funny story about how he was watching the game on his iPad, right?
My iPad.
And then it kind of went out, and he saw the score. Tell the story about it.
What happened was, Omar, I'm watching the game on ESPN3, but the signal, I was at the Arizona State game, and the signal went out, so I went to Gamecast, and what happened was, I'm looking at the score, it's 42-34, and I'm going, all right, Navy's going to pull it out. Then all of a sudden it goes 42-40. Then I went, oh my goodness, South Alabama scored. Then it went to 42-42. Then it went back to 42-40. So I was completely confused. So I went back to ESPN3, and the signal came back, and all I saw was everybody congratulating Coach Niumatalolo, and I determined they won, but I didn't know how. And you explained how you have an eligible receiver downfield on the 2-point conversion. Now, let me ask you this. You're an old football player. You're on the 3-yard line for an eligible receiver downfield. How does that happen? How did they line up? What?
It was the first time that this one player that they had moved out to the receiver position. So he covered up the tight end. And therefore, when the tight end went out on the normal pass route, the tight end was not an eligible receiver. So that's how they got the call. And I even said on the air, that's a coaching error. You don't have someone who normally lines up in your backfield and on an important play put them out there to line up wide, and they don't communicate with the official saying they need to be off the line of scrimmage. The player was actually on the line of scrimmage, and that's how it happened.
So it was a legitimate call. It wasn't a bad call by the officials. They were correct.
The legal man downfield was a correct call. I will say on the second attempt, the holding, well, we all know holding can be called on any play.
That's true.
And on the offensive play. I mean, the quarterback made such a tremendous play that it's almost a shame. I mean, I'm happy maybe one, don't get me wrong, but the quarterback actually leaped from about 3 yards out over our outside linebacker and stretched the ball over the goal line backwards. I mean, it would have been a top 10 play on the major sports networks, but because it didn't count, they didn't get a chance to show it to everybody.
And we're okay with that.
You're listening to Bowl Game Radio, and we're talking with Omar Nelson, who's the color analyst for Navy Midshipman Football, the radio play-by-play. And Omar, so you guys are coming back to San Diego for the fourth time in Poinsettia Bowl history. This is the 10th anniversary. You played in the first one, now you're playing in the 10th one. Why should San Diegans buy a game ticket and watch Navy football?
Well, we have such a I would say unique offense as far as timing, precision. We'd like to say being well disciplined and the speed of the game, and that's one thing you'll see from our offense because there's a lot of running, but because it's sometimes we can speed up the tempo, slow it down. But because you see guys really giving great effort, and it's something unique because you don't see teams running the option like you saw a lot, in the 70s and in the 80s. It's kind of an old school type of ball control offense, but there is a flair to it a little bit with the different alignments, and you kind of always scratch your head and say, how can these guys be so precise in the way they do it and the way they move the ball down the field? It's a unique brand of ball, and once you get in the environment, it's exciting to watch. And then also, all the pageantry that comes with having the Naval Academy play, they'll bring midshipmen, and they always are excited to see some of the antics that they pull off during the game. And hopefully they'll get to get some spirit spots up on the Jumbotron.
That is one thing that I think that fans here in San Diego should really come out and watch, and it is the pageantry, the pomp and circumstance that follows Navy midshipman football, the march on the midshipmen. I mean, it's truly a special, unique experience in college football.
And it is. It's one thing you see it on TV, and you say, okay, and you hear the commentators talk about how great it is. But when you're actually in the stadium, it's a different feel. I would say that I've been to a lot of football games, and I've been calling, Navy for the past 12-plus years. But every Army-Navy game, I mean, when you get out there on the field, it just always seems like this is it. This is one of the top 5 sporting events. I mean, I'm not going to say it's number one because, you got things like the Super Bowl. You have some of the great rivalries, and everybody thinks that their particular rivalry is the greatest. But it's just a feeling you get, and then just such a love for everything about, I would say as far as what's good about the country. And then when we go on the road, you can see some of the opposing teams, even though they want to win the game, they get caught up in some of the emotion also about the love for country that the team displays.
That is great. And your quarterback, Keenan Reynolds, has had an interesting season, I think, this year. He struggled in a few games, missed a couple games, and now he seems to be coming on pretty strong. Can you tell us a little bit about Keenan?
Well, he had, first of all, he's a great athlete. I mean, a great quarterback. What is so special about him is how he can run the offense. I mean, I've never been around a player who is like a coach on the field. And that's why Kim Niamatololo, the head coach, and Ivan Jassy, the offensive coordinator, why they feel so comfortable with allowing him to run the show. But one thing, early in the season, he did have a knee injury, so he went through a rough spell. Late September, early October, we had a 3-game losing streak, but you could see that he was bothered by his knee. He really couldn't run full speed, and he wasn't making the cuts. And then he ended up taking a week off, and we had a bye, so he had a good 2 weeks worth of rest. And then, by the San Jose State game, late October, through the last 4 games of the season, where we've gone 3-1 with him at the quarterback position. I mean, our offense has been doing tremendous. We scored 30-plus every game, and I would say highlighted about 52 points we scored against Georgia Southern on the last home game, and we've been hard to stop. I mean, very rarely has our opponent had to go out on the field on that 4-game stretch.
Well, Omar, thanks for joining us on Bowl Game Radio. We know you got one more game against Army, then you're coming to San Diego for the December 23rd San Diego County Credit Union Poinsettia Bowl. Looking forward to seeing you and the gang from the Naval Academy in just a few weeks.
Well, we're looking forward to it, and again, thanks for having us out there. And Bruce, we won't mention your name during the next game. We'll just save that to when we get out to San Diego.
Save that for San Diego. Then come out with a win against Army. All right, Omar Nelson, thanks for joining us on Bowl Game Radio right here on the Mighty 1090.
And we're going to find out who Navy is going to be facing is on Sunday, around noontime, probably Sunday. We're going to find out who will be facing Navy in the San Diego County Credit Union Poinsettia Bowl. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to replay an interview we had with legendary coach Mac Brown. You're listening to what are we listening to? Bowl Game Radio. That's right, on the San Diego Bowl Game Media Network and the Mighty 1090.